Hey guys, my name is Olaf, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to make an orbit animation in Blender. I'm first going to show you how to animate it and then how to add textures, so let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off by deleting the default cube, so click X to delete the default cube and then switch to Cycles Render for better shading. And then you want to click Shift A to add a new object, and we're going to add a UV sphere. And then click S to scale it up, and then open the settings on the right side. Go to modifiers, add modifier, and add a subdivision surface modifier. And also make this shading smooth. Then add another object using Shift A. We're going to add a single arrow. So click G set to grab it on the Z axis. And we're going to use this arrow to control one of the planets later on. So just click S set to scale it on the Z axis. I'm also going to give it a new name, so just drag it down and let's call this one Rotation 1. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate it, so click Shift D to duplicate, and then give it a new name. I'm going to call this one Rotation 2. Click Shift D to duplicate again, and then click G set to grab it on the Z axis. And I'm going to make 4 of these, so let's name this one Rotation 3, and duplicate one more time, so click Shift D and then G set to grab it on the Z axis. And this one is going to be called Rotation 4. Okay, so let's start adding the 4 planets. I'm going to click Shift A to add a new one. So go to Mesh and then UV Sphere. And then you need to click G and then Shift Set to only grab the sphere on the X and Y axis. And then click S to scale it down. And of course we need to add a modifier to smooth it out. So go to Subdivision Surface Modifier and then make the shading smooth. And then we need to select the arrow, so holding Shift and then click Control P to set the planet parent to the arrow. So when you click R set to rotate it on the Z axis, you're going to rotate the planet around the sun in the middle. By clicking N, the transform settings will show up, and then go to frame 0 and click I to keyframe the rotation. And then I'm going to move to frame 90, which is going to be the time it's going to take to rotate it on the Z axis 360 degrees, and then click I again to keyframe. I'm going to increase the end frame to 1000 to make the animation last longer. So if we go back now, we can see that the planet rotates just one round, so we need to go to the graph editor. First we need to click T to set the interpolation to linear to make it have the same speed at all times, and then click N to add a modifier and add a cycles modifier, which is going to repeat the rotation forever. So if we go back to 3D view and we click play, you will see that the animation just keeps on going forever because it cycles the rotation animation. So we need to do this exact process 4 times. So click Shift A to add another UV sphere. I'm only going to show you this process one more time in normal speed, and then I'm going to speed it up for the last 2 planets. So just make the shading smooth and then click G and then Shift Set to grab the sphere on the X and Y axis. And then scale it down with S. And then hold in Shift and select the second arrow. Click Control P to set the sphere parent to the arrow. And then we're going to start animating again. So click I on the rotation on frame 1. And then go to frame 180 because we're going to make the animation last longer this time. And then make the rotation 360 degrees. And then click I to keyframe again. And then we need to go to the graph editor and click T to set the interpolation to linear. Select the set Euler and then add the cycles modifier. Okay, so let's go back to the 3D view. And you will now see that the second planet spends twice as much time to rotate around the sun one time, which is kind of the point to show how you can have different speeds for the different planets. And then I'm just going to repeat the process for the 2 other planets, and I'm going to make the speed a little bit slower for these as well. I'm just going to multiply the rotation time. And as you see, the last one spends 720 frames for one rotation. around the sun. And that's basically it for the animation part. So if you want to see how it's rendered, just keep watching. And the first thing I'm going to do is to select the sun, and then go into the sun settings, make it into a sun, make the size 1, and then click use nodes. And I'm going to make the strength, let's say 5. I'm going to make the light a little bit more yellow to give it kind of a natural color, and then click G to grab the sun. Left click to confirm, and then I'm going to click Shift Set to see what it looks like in rendered view. The next step is to left click to add a 3D cursor under the sun, and then click S to scale up the new plane. So click G set to grab it on the Z axis, and then click S to scale it up a little bit again. And then I'm going to save the file one time, just in case something crashes. I'm going to call it rotation tutorial. Okay, so let's start off by selecting the sun and start adding some materials. I'm going to make this one glossy, and you would also want to increase the roughness. So let's make the roughness point 127 and make the color orange. And then we need to select the next planet. So let's select the closest one, and let's add a new material. I'm going to make this one blue, and then select the second planet, and I'm going to make this one let's try to make it kind of gray, and then select the third planet, and of course you can give them whatever color you want to give them. I'm going to make this one a little bit reddish, and then select the last planet. I'm going to make this one kind of blue. Okay, and then I'm going to add a material for the floor. So let's add a new material, and let's select a color. I was actually spending a lot of time trying to find the right color, but I ended up with kind of a grayish brownish color. Okay, so let's go into the camera to adjust the camera. So click numpad 0 to go into the camera, and then right click the camera to select it, and click Shift F to use the fly cam. So move around with W, A, S, and D, just like in a video game, and find the position you want to have for the final render. And then left click to confirm the position. I hope you guys try to experiment with the scene and not only do exactly the same as I do, because I think there are a lot of ways to improve this animation, but we have very limited time when I'm going to make a short animation and quick animation. So I think you can improve the scene a lot. But I'm going to add some walls as well. So click Tab and click E to extrude, and then X to delete the top face. And we also need to increase the range of the camera, because as you can see, it can't see very far. Okay, so we're starting to get to the end of the tutorial. So I'm now going to start changing the settings for the render. So let's go to the camera icon, increase the resolution quality to 100%, and then select a place where you want to have your finished PNG images that you're going to turn into a video later on. So I'm going to go to the TMP folder. You can just save it wherever you want and make a new folder for all of the images. And then select the folder and give the images a name. I'm going to name it orbits. And as you can see, we're using PNG images. If you want to learn how to turn all of these PNG files into a video, you can watch one of my tutorials, which is called like PNG to MP4 or something like that. Okay, select the edge on the back and click G set to grab it on the Z axis. That is going to save you a lot of rendering time, because like all of the light is not going to bounce around in the box forever. Okay, Shift set to go to rendered mode again, and let's just try to make sure everything looks okay. Okay, I'm going to increase the samples to 150 to make the render look better. And I'm also going to increase the frame rate to 60, which is going to make the animation look smoother. Okay, let's try a test render. I'm going to speed up the renderer. Before I start rendering the animation, I think I need to adjust the camera a little bit to make sure all of the planets are within the frame in the final animation. So I'm just using the fly cam to move around, and I think now everything is within the frame. So click animation to animate. This is what it looks like when it's done rendering. Thank you guys for watching and subscribe.